To the capital now, where the strike action by the city's municipal workers isn't looking like ending anytime soon, or it's ending anytime soon. Tshwane's managers are set to make their financial points clear when they meet with Union Samwu before the bargaining council. The city says it won't raise its proposed salary increment as it doesn't have the money. Meanwhile, service delivery continues to suffer. Our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones has the latest on that story for us, and he joins us now live. Pule, it looks like we've reached basically just an impasse when it comes to this particular strike. Is there any way forward before they actually go back to the bargaining council?
It seems as though we may be having a way forward between the City of Tshwane and Samwu as well regarding this illegal strike that has now entered its fourth week. There's been quite a lot of challenges which has affected the City of Tshwane, particularly with the residents as well, in regards to the stalling of service delivery in several parts of the capital city. But to chat to us more about today is, of course, the Mayor of Tshwane, Celia Brink. Thank you very much for chatting to us. Maybe let's just begin with what was discussed today at the bargaining council between yourself and the unions, and updates on that.
So the bargaining council process, as mentioned before, it's something that council decided we have to embark on to get an exemption from the salary increases on the basis that the city is just not in a financial position to afford it. Papers were submitted to the bargaining council some time ago. We needed some time to finalize our financials for the financial year that ended in June. So what happened is those arguments were made, the information was presented, paperwork from the city was more than 1,000 pages in substantiating the case we made there. Samwu, I am informed, raised a number of what they call preliminary issues, points in limine, about procedure, which the council indicated they need some time to consider on the papers, and so there will be a continuation on the 30th of August.
So this matter has now been postponed to the 30th of August for further deliberation?
In essence, yes.
Yeah. And what does this mean for the city then?
So it means that we follow the process. I saw earlier this week that Samwu's secretary in Tshwane called on workers to return to work. In week 5, that's a bit late. I think the unfortunate thing is that by coming out too late to encourage workers to return to work, there's been a breach of trust. And unfortunately, we haven't seen an end to the strike. The unprotected strike is still ongoing, even as the bargaining council is looking at this case. So unfortunately, we still see instances of intimidation. But the good news is that there are some workers that are coming back. The majority of Tshwane workers are either at work or desperately wanting to work. And it's just intimidation, blockages, and so forth that are keeping them from attending to their duties. We hope that as we move on, as the case at the bargaining council is being presented, that more and more workers will return to work. It's not just in their own financial interest, because the principle of no work, no pay applies. Also, there will be continued dismissals unless folks return to work and don't have a good excuse. It's also in the interest of the city. It's about the communities that we serve. It's about having a city in the next decade.
These talks are set to continue again at the bargaining council, but if there were to be a ruling or decision in favor of the workers, how could this potentially affect the city financially as well? Because it may mean that you may need to, fulfill the obligation of this proposed salary increment by the unions.
So as I've said previously, our budget is underfunded by about 3 billion rand. Part of the funding plan that we put on the table that was accepted by National Treasury is that we seek these exemptions. Granting the salary increases is going to cost us in excess of 600 million rand. So if we have to implement this, it will have a significant impact on service delivery, because you have to cut something. If your budget is already underfunded and now you have an obligation to pay, we will have to cut the essence, we'll have to cut services. Obviously, it doesn't mean if we lose at bargaining council that all of the options are exhausted. Of course, there's still labour court, and I don't want to preempt the outcome of the bargaining council process. I don't want to discuss which way the case will go, but obviously there are different options depending on the outcome.
How much does this strike cost the city?
So certainly not 600 million rand or anything close to it. It has cost us reputation-wise. It's cost us in the sense of now many residents say, why should we pay for services if they're not being delivered according to standards. So that breach of trust, I'm sure we'll quantify it, and it is significant, but I don't have an exact figure for you, but in essence, significantly less than simply having agreed to salary increases of 600 million.
Are you still making use of private contractors for service delivery in the city?
Well, we have to. If folks are on strike, and if work teams who attend to water, sanitation, electricity, if they refuse to work, we're still obligated to deliver that service. Unfortunately, we've seen even private contractors being attacked and intimidated, including waste collection. So yes, of course we have to. We have to do everything in our power to maintain a level of service, to put contingency plans in place. And so the use of contractors is essential.
Are your resources stressed in this regard? Because it seems as though you have to push some of the contractors, the townships as well, which is quite a widespread area as well, and there's a very large demand in terms of services having to be repaired, street lights going off, pipe bursts, etc.
We are under tremendous pressure, which is what we've been trying to communicate to residents, that the delays in attending to services, the delays in lifting bins, we have contingency plans in place, but because we've got a significant portion of the workforce, not the majority, but certainly a significant portion, who don't want to work and are in fact sabotaging services and intimidating fellow employees, that is what causes the delays. And it also causes financial pressure for us. So yes, it's a very undesirable situation, and I hope that Samwu leaders will reflect what they are doing to communities.
What percentage of workers have returned to work after Samwu made the call that some should go back to work and start with ensuring that services are delivered and they continue with the work as expected?
So according to the information that I have, and it's obviously anecdotal what we get in management reports and so on, Samwu's call for workers to return to work hasn't had a significant impact. We in fact saw a return of workers before Samwu made this call. And I think what has been crucial to that is the realization that if you don't work and you're not available to work, you don't get overtime, you don't get standby allowance, you do run the risk of disciplinary process, including dismissal. So I think that's what prompted folks as we near month end, and obviously some of these implications will only be felt next month. I think that's what prompted a return to work. But I would say that about 80% plus of employees really do want to work. But unfortunately, it's a key 20% in functions such as water, electricity, waste collection, customer relations management that have an effect on our ability to deliver services, our relationship with residents.
Realistically speaking, how long will this go on for? Because, as much as this will continue, it's crippling the city as well.
Well, the city is certainly not on its knees. We understand the frustration of communities, the delays. I am very serious about the breach of trust that this has caused between us and residents. But we're not on our knees. We are implementing the plans that Council made. Remember, this is a Council decision. I'm not on a frolic of my own here. I'm implementing what the majority of councillors said. I'm sticking to that decision. And if we don't have as political leaders the ability to make decisions and then carry them through, and we're constantly being pushed this side and that side by different interest holders, then we don't have leadership. Then we don't have an institution and certainly don't have a future. We hope that significant numbers of employees will start returning to work. I hope that Samwu does more than say on TV interviews, please return to work. I hope there's a more active effort. We just have to stand our ground in the meantime.
When you enter the gates into your offices, there are Samwu workers outside as well. Is the city still continuing with the process of, looking at who's on the strike and essentially leading to the process of having them get dismissal letters and essentially, firing them from work as well?
Yes, those processes have to be continue. And whether it's, whoever is not at work and can't account for their absence, they have already been warned, and those processes must continue. And that's the least that residents can expect. Surely there must be some kind of justice, there must be some kind of reckoning for the disruption that has been caused, and we have to maintain consequences in our employer-employee relationship.
All right. Thank you very much. That's the Tshwane Mayor Celia Brink Masego joining me this afternoon.
All right, Pule Letshwiti-Jones live for us there in the city of Tshwane. Let's take you to a short